shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Violence and war shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Violence and war shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Violence and war shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Violence and war shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Violence and war shall be no more. Violence and war shall be no more.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Spirit, oh Spirit, 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 light in our way.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Spirit, oh Spirit, 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 light in our way.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Justice and peace light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Wisdom and truth light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Kindness and love light in our way.
Spirit, oh Spirit, 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 light in our way.
Spirit of peace,
Spirit
tonight we'll finish off a section in the book called Springs of Contemplation, a retreat to the Abbey of Gethsemane with Thomas Merton. So the question was asked to Thomas Merton by one of the retreatants: do you think people coming to the monastery today reach significant spiritual maturity, the kind that you talked about? Merton's response was, definitely. That's the point of our getting together here. We're to think about how this can happen, because it does. But it's very hard in our culture. And I can't help but, if I were present with Thomas Merton, I probably would raise my hand. I said, could you say more about that? But I'm not, so I won't. But still, think about all the different ways that it's so hard in this culture to grow into a mature human being, free of emotional and all kinds of conflicts within, and to be free of all that. That's what he's talking about. He's saying it's especially hard in this culture for various reasons. Still, he says, with the grace of God, there is plenty of hope. And for Merton, that was key. For him, it wasn't just a practice. It was rooted in the grace of God as he understood it. There's plenty of hope. We probably won't be able to do this work in a simple way, as some of these people from the Eastern cultures do. They follow a traditional formula and just work hard at it. But for us, there's a whole new thing we have to take note of. So right away people say, what's the new thing, Tom? And he responds, we have to keep our traditional values. That's probably not what most people would say today. Keep traditional values? What does that mean? We want to reject traditional values because they're so oppressive. And he says, no, he says, we need to keep our traditional values, but see them in a new way, in a new context, in the light of people's experience today. What those now coming to us in monasteries want is basically the same as what everybody has always wanted. And his conclusion is, what does everyone want? God. Sometimes God is made out to be a great problem, says Merton. We are told that people have no concept of what God is. Fair enough, but God is not a concept. A person may have no idea of God at all, and may be completely struck between the eyes by grace. You like to use that phrase, struck between the eyes. Don't know why. So a person may have no idea of God at all, and yet be completely struck between the eyes by God's grace. So in other words, what he's saying is, our concept of God really doesn't prevent God from working with us, from speaking to us, or sometimes striking us between the eyes. What matters is being spontaneously open to the reality, possibility of God. What matters is being spontaneously open to the reality, possibility of God. And then one of the retreatants asked the question, would you please say more about the reserve you mentioned? Starting with the study.
The study of silence and the idea of dignity and reserve have acquired a new meaning in an age when psychology can become coercive in its policies. Even technology can pry into private lives. We are living in an electronic world where it is possible that a person may have no privacy at all. I'm against reducing silence to muteness, against depriving individuals of their right to a many-voiced silence, their right to hear both on the level of grace and on the level of nature. When there's real silence, we're able to hear, and we all need to hear.
God wants to know the divine goodness in us. This is a deep truth. This desire on the part of God to become self-aware in our own awareness. That's why contemplation is for everyone. The purpose of contemplation is not just that we may become aware of God or truths about God, but that God may see the Trinity reflected in each of us in our own particular identity. It's not necessary to talk to God in order to develop this awareness, although we do this sometimes, for example, in the liturgy, and that's fine, but it's not essential. Are we going to say, I love you? The more we talk, the more foolish it sounds. This is where silence comes in. We listen to the depth of our own being, and out of this listening comes a rich silence, the silence of God, which just says, God, or I am. Now that is something.
I don't understand why, in all the discussion about God now going on, people are putting aside this fundamental aspect of our life. The claim is made that modern people cannot have an experience of being, that being is not relevant to them. I don't see that. It seems to me that one of the most basic experiences of anyone who gets down into any kind of depth is the breakthrough realization that I am. This is quite normal for any youngster of 8 or 9. There's a point in your life where maybe you're just playing around and all of a sudden it hits you between the eyes that you really are. This is a true grasp of what being is. It isn't that you understand a definition of being, you are simply overwhelmed by the fact of being. This is the place where God's reality is going to break through. I become aware of my own reality, and then God's reality turns out to be the ground mine. The door is there, and now they're telling us this is impossible. Do you have any difficulty with this? It seems to me this breakthrough happens in prayer. I remember as a child standing on a hill with everything spread out before me, and suddenly something inside just seemed to burst, and I knew there was a union someplace. Exactly. Wordsworth wrote poems about it. This feeling or intuition comes up everywhere in literature. It's so basic, it is one of the fundamental things God has given us. Perhaps the reason a lot of people don't feel it is that they just don't have time. They never seem able to stop long enough to allow anything to break through. It certainly is not something inaccessible to the human race.
It doesn't stop there either. After I am, there is I am loved. Yes, and love is not just sentimental. Love is being itself. It is like a spring coming up out of the ground of our own depths. I am gift. All that I am is something that gives, and given freely. Being doesn't cost anything. There's no price tag, no strings attached. It's simply given. Exactly when we can respond with a complete yes. But this basic sense of our own being can be blocked, maybe by a refusal to take things in terms of gift, or by our not wanting to have any say thanks to anybody. Or maybe we want to have our life on our own terms, as it were, not a gift, but my due. This attitude goes back to a legalism which is terrible precisely because instead of making it possible to accept life as a gift, welling up from within, I make it something that's coming to me, something I'm owed. I'm fulfilled everything. Where's the pay? Where's my merit? There's a classic Zen story about this. An old master went from India to China to see the emperor, who was already a Buddhist. The emperor said to the Zen master, I have built temples, put up pagodas, and started monasteries. What is my reward? And the master replied, you don't get any. There's no reward for you. The emperor was all shook up, thought about it, and after a while realized what was meant if you need something else as a reward, your giving is a fiction.
Mm. Mm. Very good, thank you. Any response to the reading?
Actually, I'd like to hear that last sentence again.
Mm.
What is it?
Got up on the right one. Just said there's a few bent ones.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I don't know where it is. There's so many bent pages.
I'll look it up later.
You're sitting there in the retreat, hearing. You're sitting there in the retreat, hearing what he has to say. Is there any particular question that seeks more understanding about what he has to say? So not just at one level, where we say, "Oh, that sounds good to me. I like that," but what is it that he's saying that might evoke a wonder in us, a question, something we want to learn more about, to experience more, that sort of thing. Anything come to mind?
Might ask, wherefrom comes your certainty that these experiences are the presence of the divine?
Mm-hmm.
So I get feelings of presence, sometimes very powerful, and then part of my brain says, well, that might just be endorphins,
Mm.
And yet I sense it's not just that, but I would ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
What do you think his response might be to that question?
Not sure yet. That's kind of what I was listening for while we read this.
I think he would enjoy that question. He's a very honest person, knew himself very well, and was a person of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I found that spot Barb wanted.
No. There you go.
It says, if you need something else as a reward, your giving is a fiction.
You're giving what?
Is a fiction.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Since you found it, Michael, did you read that? Did you? Sorry. There's another story immediately following that. Would you mind reading it? On the same theme.
John Brew, a wonderful fellow, a cover, and a former Catholic ambassador to the Vatican, that's written a lot of books and has taught at Eton Hall College for a long time. After translating the Gospel of St. John into Chinese, he became adequate with the writings of St. Teresa, all of Avila. To his amazement, he discovered that she had a lot of ideas, very much like those of the old Chinese philosophers. Dr. Wu really understands this idea of no merit. He went to see Pius
Pope Pius XII.
Okay, the 12th. Yeah, and I got into a disagreement with said, "Oh, Dr. Rude, you with your wife and your beautiful children, all these are the reward of your virtues." And Rude said, "No, no, no reward." "Yes, it is the reward." "No, no reward." Dr. Rude was very good. Dr. Rude has a very good book on the interior life called The Interior Carnival, which is just full of this kind of insight.
That's it. Thank you. So I love that story because first of all, he's disagreeing with the Pope
Yeah.
directly, you know, and most people don't dare do that, but this gentleman did. And, you know, the Pope had his own ideas about, here's this man with this wonderful wife, beautiful children, and his response was, you know, what a lot of people might say, that's a reward for your virtue. You know, God blesses you with
Yeah.
the family and all this. And Wu's response is, nope, no reward. There is no such thing as reward. And the Pope said, no, reward. He said, nope, no reward. Now, we could make jokes out of that, you know, like maybe he didn't get along with his wife, I don't know. But, you know, but I think what he was saying was in the same vein as the earlier story. You know, it's not about reward.
Yeah.
Right.
It just isn't. And it's not about virtue signaling, you know. It's not about that. In fact, Jesus at one time, you know, when the religious leaders were virtue signaling, you all familiar with that phrase, virtue signaling? Yeah.
No.
No? Okay. What does it mean, Michael?
Basically, he's showing. I don't know how to explain it right.
You're shaking your head, Isaac. Do you know what it is?
Just showing or feeling the need to show people how good of a person you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. And it happens very subtly sometimes, you know. But basically we're trying to perform and show how good we are, right, to somebody and
Oh,
something.
okay. Yeah, that
And-
makes sense.
Yeah. And when people would do that around Jesus, his response was just direct. He said, okay, that's your reward.
Yeah.
Don't look for anything else, because you're not going to get it. You know, that's it. You got people's, you know, attention, and that's what you wanted. They think you're good. That's your reward. So he was really kind of hard on people who did that. So no merit, no reward. It goes against a common kind of understanding, both in a number of religious traditions, you know, where we do good and we get blessed. We do good, we get rewards. And both Jesus and this fellow in this book, and Merton is saying, it's not about that. So let that go. Among other things, let that go. So,
It
good.
seems like he's coupling the rewards pretty heavy there.
He is, and in his context and his way of thinking about things, it made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That it just came to mind with
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
And you know, if you want to get tactical about it, you know, Jesus himself did promise rewards.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, don't store up treasure on this earth. He said, store it up in heaven. That's where your reward's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conversation. I think the point that Merton's trying to make is just don't try and signal your goodness. Don't try and pretend, you know, that you're virtuous. Don't be focused on reward in any sense. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. In other words, shout if it doesn't come right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Any other thoughts on this before we close?
Is that kind of like the Bible saying when you fast, you don't tell anybody?
Yeah.
Because that's your reward, but
Yeah.
whatever they give you in return is your reward.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Jesus was pointing out. He said those people that fast and, you know, have the long face and, you know, oh, I'm fasting, I'm virtuous.
Yeah.
That's your reward. No, that's as good as it gets. That, you know. But he clearly indicates, you know, there's reward in the deepest possible sense. You know, blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's the reward. But something not to focus on. There's something else deeper to focus on. close with a song. I think this is the focus. It's amor. Amor de todos los amores. Amor de todos los amores. Amor de todos los amores. Amor, At the close of this day, we give thanks for your great amor, your love that envelops the whole world. May we open our hearts and our lives to this love. May it be so.